Despite the fact that Arnold Schoenberg and Igor Stravinsky were neighbors in Los Angeles for many years, Schoenberg died there in 1951, they met only once, and that was in Berlin in 1912. And the occasion, curiously enough, was a performance of Pierrot Lunaire. Towards the end of World War I, Stravinsky turned apparently as much out of financial necessity as out of musical conviction to works for small ensembles, much as Schoenberg had done with Pierrot, and again, like Pierrot, to works that involved a very stylized form of narration and which could be realized as intimate theater. The best known of these is L'Histoire de Soldat, the soldier's tale, which is a sort of jazz-age Dr. Faustus. It's about a soldier who barters his soul and his violin to the devil for a book of magic and a promise of vast fortune. There's also a sort of I'll take you home again, Kathleen type subplot about a sickly princess and a kingly ransom, and just a hint of the no U-turn idée fixe of Eurydice or the wife of Lot thrown in for good measure. It's full of musical interludes that have titles like Ragtime or Tango, and it's also full of a couple of Bach-ian chorales that are subjected to the ultimate sacrilege, bad voice leading. It isn't really the sort of piece that gives one pause to contemplate harmonic subtleties or contrapuntal invention. It's reputedly famous for its complex rhythms, which strike me as being rather like Josquin des Prez rescored for Sesame Street. But to be frank, I really have to disqualify myself. I'm constitutionally incapable of any rational discussion of this music. There are some people, you know, who find Bruckner boring and Muzak maddening and who never do develop a taste for olives. Well, I don't have any problem with those phenomena, but the music of Igor Stravinsky literally sends me up the wall. Anyway, here are the last four movements of The Soldier's Tale: the Little Chorale, the Devil's Song, the Great Chorale, and the Devil's Triumphal March. Eric House is our devil, and Boris Brott, who dressed for the role just in case, conducts.
I shall have to wait, but this realm of yours is not so great. If once its frontier should be passed, then you'll be in my power at last. So do not push your luck too far, or then, my lady, you will find that you are back in bed again. As for your prince, he can't pretend he doesn't know my patience now is at an end. He who laughs the last, he laughs most, as I shall do to watch him roast.
You must not seek to add to what you have, what you once had. You have no right to share what you are with what you were. No one can have it all. That is forbidden. You must learn to choose between. One happy thing is every happy thing. Two is as if they had never been. I have everything he thinks. I always will have everything he thinks. But one day she says, I know so little about you still. Tell me about yourself. Come on, tell me. Well, it all started a long, long time ago. There was a cottage I used to share with my mother. I was a soldier then, you know, far, far away. I've almost forgotten where.
I said earlier that nostalgia was a major preoccupation with many composers during the second decade, as it usually is at times of innovation and uncertainty. And there's no better evidence for that than the rather complex career of Maurice Ravel. Depending on your point of view, Ravel was either an idiomatic dilettante or a judicious assimilator of diverse influences. His early style was capped with that most dazzling of all essays in orchestral impressionism, at least I think that's what it is, Daphnis and Chloe. In later years, jazz, the blues, and a rather self-consciously arid neoclassicism infiltrated his writing, with no small credit for the latter flirtation going to his friend Igor Stravinsky. But Ravel's favorite pastime, and perhaps the most endearing expression of his eclecticism, was his fondness for musical mimicry, for sound portraits of distant lands about which he was totally unencumbered with geographical knowledge. His Rhapsody Espagnole, for instance, was written years before he ever set foot in Spain, and his extraordinary evocation of Madagascar folklore, the Chanson de Madagascar, was accomplished without benefit of any beachcombing in the Indian Ocean. As a matter of fact, Ravel never did get further south than Marrakesh, which I think is around latitude 32 degrees north. Midway in his career, in 1919 to be exact, Ravel celebrated the mid-19th century heyday of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in a symphonic study eventually called La Valse. I say eventually because his original title for the work, about which he'd brooded for well over a decade, was Vienna. He scrapped that original title, understandably, during his service as an ambulance driver in the First World War, but just to play it safe, he stayed clear of the title city until the score had been premiered in Paris. La Valse officially exists in 4 versions, the symphonic original, of course, and 3 keyboard transcriptions by the author, 1 for 2 pianos, 1 for 2 pianists at 1 piano, and perhaps less successfully, a version for 1 pianist at 1 piano. What you're going to hear, therefore, is a 5th version, my transcription of Ravel's transcription of La Valse.